Things are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad.
My, would you look at that? Is it time already? Well, of course it is time. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cats. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I know I certainly did. Very relaxing, but it was definitely a lot of fun. And since I am back to work, it is now time that we do go back into the craziness. And I definitely have a whole bunch of madness to go and report to you all this week. Especially some that might be a little bit of a repeat of what we talked about last time, but they are very noteworthy updates that I think not only are they worth discussing here, but definitely something that we would be discussing right now, or that we are going to go and discuss, but definitely something that will fuel this episode to be a lot more fun. So, now with all that said and done, I would like to go and ask to the chat wall over here, are you all ready for today's episode? Let me go and hear it, folks. Are you all prepared for this week? All right, let's see. Yeah, someone doesn't seem that excited. I don't know. It looks like someone would says, I'm ready to die. It was like, well, okay, bye, I guess. Oh, hey, Blockbuster Chick. Nice to see you here. All right, so I think with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that I have for you today, this is actually going to be very interesting because this is a first direct update that I would like to go and discuss. Actually, hold on a second. Let me just adjust my microphone. There we go. Just need to place it better so that it's more directly towards me. But anyways, yes, this is going to be an update from a previous story that I talked about in the last episode, in which it's not necessarily cartoon related, but it is actually related to something that I watch on a regular basis. I'm a huge fan of the show, and with the recent update that did happen, I had some very strong opinions about it, and I just needed to let off some steam to discuss about the subject matter. Now, one thing I will admit is that I did not expect that it would happen much sooner than I thought. I thought this would be something that would take a while to happen, but considering the emergency of the situation got a lot higher, I guess it was time for Sony to respond and actually do something about it. So with that said, our first story that we have, let's go ahead and talk about Mike Richards and the fact that he's no longer the host of Jeopardy. Now, before I get into this, let me give you a quick little rundown of what is going on. I'll be repeating a little bit like what I said last week, but this is just to go and give you like the full story of where we are right now. So, as you guys probably know, on November of 2020, the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek, has unfortunately passed away. And ever since then, with the new season of Jeopardy that they had going on between 2020 and 2021, they were pretty much searching for the next Jeopardy host, and they had a whole bunch of guest hosts to try to determine who would be the one that would officially go and host Jeopardy. And they had a whole bunch of people they tried to go and search for, ranging from celebrities, actual doctors, news anchors, and even past contestants. But at the end, last week, they have revealed that their choice of who's going to be the host of Jeopardy, or the new permanent host of Jeopardy per se, is going to be Mike Richards, the executive producer of Jeopardy, who has already worked as the executive producer for, I believe, the past 3 years maybe, and also Big Bang Theory actress Mayim Bialik, where Mike Richards would be hosting the main Jeopardy show, while Mayim Bialik would be the host of any of the special spin-off Jeopardies. Like anytime they had they would have like a special event, like let's say the Tournament of Champions or the College Champions or Teachers Tournament or stuff like that, those ones are going to be hosted by Mayim Bialik, while Mike Richards would go and take over as the main host, as Alex Trebek's replacement per se. However, ever since those announcements, there was some backlash that did occur. And yeah, some of it would definitely be expected, especially from the fact that both Mike Richards and Mayim Bialik, they both had, or at least they both made some controversial comments in the past. In the case of Mayim Bialik, it's not as serious as Mike Richards, but still kind of like questionable and still something to investigate a little bit. I'll get more into this later, but in the case of Mike Richards, it's like the more you learn about him, the more you realize that he very much is a troublesome person. It started out with some past lawsuits that dug up, where he was pretty much sued for his poor behavior during his time as the executive producer of The Price is Right, especially regarding towards the female employees who did work on The Price is Right. But then things started to get a lot worse when this article started to appear. This is from TheRinger.com, and it's called "A Smile with Sharp Teeth. Mike Richards' rise to Jeopardy host sparks questions about his past." And this is actually an in-depth and very strong article here by Claire McNear. And if you guys want to, I highly recommend that you go and check out this article. It definitely is worth reading. But anyways, going back into this article, they actually revealed a lot more about Mike Richards that is more and more and more troublesome, where not only did his time in The Price is Right was considered very questionable and pretty shady in terms of the practices that he would pull, especially his treatment towards the female employees. But he used to have a podcast. I think it was called the Random Podcast or something like that. He ran it between 2013 and 2014, and that's where you would go and discover a lot of very controversial comments that he would go and make. Not only a lot of sexist comments regarding his female co-workers or his co-hosts in The Price is Right and stuff like that, and in other places where he worked, but also he made some very derogatory term towards Asians, so he did make some racist remarks, and he also made some anti-Semitic remarks where he was pretty much being discriminatory towards Jews. And at that point, that's when, like, the backlash significantly increased. Like, it skyrocketed to the point where Mike Richards was just way too much trouble to handle, especially for both Jeopardy and for Sony Pictures. And because of that backlash, the people at Sony and Mike Richards himself ultimately agreed that he would go and step down as the host of Jeopardy. However, there is one important thing that you do have to keep in mind. Even though he is no longer the host, he is still working at Sony. He's still working on Jeopardy as the executive producer, so that part did not change. In fact, I'm going to read you here from my article here on Variety, or this article here from Variety. I did not write this, but he did put out a full statement, pretty much this message that he sent to the Sony team, and I guess it's an open letter because, well, now we could go and read this. So I'm just going to go and quickly read this to you here. So it says here, "Dear team, it pains me that these past incidents and comments have cast such a shadow on Jeopardy as we look to start a new chapter. As I mentioned last week, I am deeply honored to be asked to host the syndicated show and was thrilled by the opportunity to expand my role. However, over the last several days, it has become clear that moving forward as host would be too much of a distraction for our fans and not the right move for the show. As such, I will be stepping down as host effective immediately. As a result, we will be canceling production today. Sony Pictures Television will now resume the search for a permanent syndicated host. In the meantime, we will be bringing back guest hosts to continue production for the new season, details in which will be announced next week. I want to apologize for each of you for the unwanted negative attention that has come to Jeopardy over the last few weeks and for the confusion and delays this is now causing. I know I have a lot to work on to do to regain your trust and confidence, Mike. So, the big oh, by the way, actually, before we continue, I do want to go and quickly read the comment that came from Sony Pictures. So, I just want to go and quickly read you those little paragraphs here. It says, Sony Pictures stated, "We support Mike's decision to step down as host. We were surprised this week to learn of Mike's 2013-2014 podcast and the offensive language he used in the past. We have spoken with him and our concerns and our expectations moving forward." They continued on by saying, "Mike has been with us for the last 2 years," okay, so it was 2, "and has led the Jeopardy team through the most challenging time the show has ever experienced. It is our hope that as executive producer, he will continue to do so with professionalism and respect." So, the big question is now that Mike Richards is not going to be the official host, who are they going to get next? Do they have someone as a backup in order to go and be the host? Well, technically, yes and no. Because the thing is, yes, they do have someone to replace Mike Richards, but it's only going to be temporary. And this was actually announced just today, actually. It was just only a few hours ago that they've revealed this, but it's going to be Mayim Bialik. I mentioned before how Mayim Bialik, she was supposed to be a temporary, she was supposed to be like the host on the side for all the special tournaments and the spin-offs that Jeopardy would have. But for now, it seems that, according to this article on Deadline, Mayim Bialik is now going to be the temporary host where for at least 3 weeks, or for 3 weeks worth of episodes, she is going to be the host of Jeopardy, and then following afterwards, they're going to go and find a whole bunch more of guest hosts to see if they can go and be the next Alex Trebek. Like, pretty much to say that the hunt for the next Alex Trebek is still on. But for now, what we do know is that it's not going to be Mike Richards. And from the looks of things, it doesn't look like they might want to go and keep Mayim Bialik in this case. So yeah, that seems to be the big news that we do have. It's the fact that Mike Richards is out. And one thing I want to start this off by saying is that there's something honestly extremely funny that I do find in all this, because I remember when they would start having all these guest hosts, and I think Mike Richards was the first one to be a guest host. And during that time, each of the guest hosts, until recently this summer, they would actually have 2 weeks worth of being a guest host while doing their little charity work on the side. And the funny thing is that with Mike Richards, when he was a guest host, he had 10 days worth of being a guest host where he actually had his legitimate time as the host of Jeopardy. And yet, the amount of time, like I actually calculated, but the amount of time when he was announced the actual host from the announcement that Sony Pictures Television has made up until he was fired, or in this case, he was more stepping down as the host, that was only 9 days. So the real funny irony is that he spent more time as a legitimate guest host than he was announced as an actual host. So that right there, I do find it to be pretty funny. And also pretty surprising as well. I've already mentioned this, but yeah, my first reaction to this is the fact that it is very surprising that, like, it didn't really take that long for the people at Sony to agree to actually go and fully make this move after the whole thing that they have mentioned. I remember last week when I did talk about the story that Sony Pictures really went on about the fact that they did a heavy amount of research. They consulted with numerous, if not hundreds of people, from executives within Sony Pictures to numerous of research groups to just random people in the audience or like random people who watch Jeopardy and all that kind of stuff, like they spent a long time trying to do like full on research and watching every single episode, and they ultimately went with Mike Richards. And yet, with all that research, they decided to ultimately throw it out the window because it doesn't seem like the best choice. And from there, I gotta say, honestly, I feel like all the research that they have been saying is completely bullcrap. Because if they spent that much time doing research, they wouldn't just throw that decision out the window that easily. And also, one thing that I do think that is also bullcrap about the fact that they did all this research, it's the fact that Mike Richards is an executive producer. In fact, he is the executive producer of Jeopardy! You cannot say that he did not have a say in this. And what I mean by that is that Mike Richards, considering that he has a pretty powerful position on Jeopardy, he does play a significant factor in terms of selecting who would be the guest host. And especially from the recent things that we have discovered about him, like there is a side where you could tell that he pretty much manipulated his way for him to become the host, for him to go and be the next Alex Trebek, where he pretty much manipulated some of the choices in order for him to go into his favor. That I wouldn't really say that he rigged the system in a way, but he did play a very significant factor why the first immediate choice for Alex Trebek's replacement would actually be him. So that's one thing I do want to mention that is actually pretty shady, and why the decision of him being the guest host is bullcrap, because of his position that he has as an executive producer. And also, I do want to add is that even though people are like cheering probably of the fact that he's not going to be the new host and stuff like that, I feel like right now his fate is pretty much similar to Ellen DeGeneres, where I won't say he is canceled, but more just his on-camera personality is pretty much over. But that doesn't mean he's no longer going to be working in Hollywood. He's no longer going to be like a millionaire and stuff like that. I mean, we are talking about a wealthy white person in Hollywood. And from there, he could still stay behind the scenes as an executive producer and making these executive decisions. And he knows that his reputation won't be as tarnished as he was being on camera and stuff like that. So honestly, when it comes to like how Mike Richards is, like, I'm not going to be shedding a tear at all of the fact that he's no longer going to be the host, because he's definitely going to be fine, because he did not really lose his job on Jeopardy. In fact, it's almost as if nothing really happened. It's like being rejected by a person that you liked. Yeah, there is going to be that sting a little bit because that thing won't happen, but at the end of the day, did he really lose anything? Honestly, no. And the thing is that, yeah, like the more you do learn about Mike Richards, the more you realize that he is just way too toxic to keep on camera, or way too toxic to work as a host of one of the most popular game shows in television history, especially from this article from The Ringer and all the things that they have exposed. Because the one thing I will say about Mayim Bialik, like, yeah, she had some pretty shady stuff that was revealed about her when she was announced as the new Jeopardy guest host. And I did talk about that a little bit in the last episode. But in her defense, however, she did explain herself about some of those controversies. She did actually like try to clarify about some of the things that she has said in the past, and even apologize for some of those things. Like, yes, technically she did write a thesis paper many years ago about not taking vaccinations, and like, yeah, it was basically a full-on anti-vax piece that she went on to write. But nowadays, she is in the defense of vaccines, and she even mentioned that her and her kids are fully vaccinated or about to be fully vaccinated from the coronavirus. virus and that she encourages people to go and do the same thing. So she is definitely a supporter of the vaccine now. But then there is also the mention about the fact that she went and actually attacked the victims of Harvey Weinstein and pretty much calling the people who founded the hashtag #MeToo movement clout chasers. And that is also something that she went on to the defense by saying that not only is she more of a feminist, but she is also a supporter of the hashtag #MeToo movement. And even with that article that she did write for the New York Times, she did mention that a lot of it was actually taken out of context, that the media did kind of skew it a little bit and mess things up for her to make it look like she has a pretty anti-Me Too outlook on the whole situation, especially regarding the victims of Harvey Weinstein. Okay, so in that regard, yeah, she made some pretty messed up comments in the past, but at the very least, she was capable of explaining herself. She was capable of actually changing her mind, and she did prove a little bit that she has changed her mind, or from her viewpoints of those specific subject matters that she stated in the past. So at least, like, some of the dirt that she had, she did mostly wipe them off. But then when it comes to Mike Richards' behavior and the things that he has said in the past, yeah, at that point, there's just too much to the point where it's like, he's unsalvageable. Like, he pretty much became hopeless, especially with the discovery of that podcast, with all the different comments that he has made towards women, towards Asians, towards Jews, not to mention like the infamous stories, or the now infamous stories that occurred on The Price is Right that also led to a bunch of lawsuits. There's no way that they could have someone that troublesome to come on board and replace Alex Trebek. Now, I do understand that when it comes to Alex Trebek, that's a very high bar in order to go and find someone that they could replace, because Alex Trebek, let's be honest, he was one of the most beloved game show hosts of all time, especially someone both on and off camera has a reputation of being kind, of being wise, and being gentle with everyone that he interacts with. He definitely is or was someone that we're definitely blessed to actually have a moment to interact with him. And that's going to be hard to find someone who would be able to go and fully fill those shoes. But one thing's for sure, going from Alex to Mike Richards, that would have objectively been a massive downgrade. And all that controversy would definitely end up overshadowing the legacy of Jeopardy. And I even mentioned this before, like, not only that, but also with my my opinion that I had of him as a host, where I just find that he was just so bland. He was just so boring. Like, it did make me feel like I didn't really want to go and watch Jeopardy anymore. Like, there was a part of me that was ready to go, just let go of Jeopardy and just fully move on, because, yeah, the show just wasn't as it used to be, like the days of Alex, because they really downgraded on the host. And I'm sure with all the controversy that's just looming over Mike Richards, I'm sure if Sony would have kept Mike Richards on board, they would, like, a lot of people would have done the same thing, where they would just move on, and really it would just tank the ratings, and it would just be the show's downfall, all because of a bad decision of the host. And yeah, like, it really was it really did feel manipulative, the fact that they went with the executive producer, and it's just there's just no way that they could make it happen. Like, honestly, I would have thought if there was a time that Sony would have made the decision to just let go of him, maybe it would be like, maybe after a few episodes of Jeopardy, like maybe the first 2 weeks would occur, and then more controversy would just keep piling up, and then they would just agree to let him go and move on from there. But the fact that they did it now, I think honestly, it's one of two reasons. I feel like A, Mike Richards stepped down because there is still that sense of morality that he has. B, or actually three things actually. A would be that. B would be the fact that considering that he is still an executive producer, he is thinking about the ratings, and he knows that he would be responsible for tanking those ratings. So it's probably for money, for business purposes, why he would step down. And also 3, he's stepping down because there's probably a lot more to come. Like, the thing is that we've only there could be a possibility that we might have scratched the surface regarding the things that has been said and that has happened related to Mike Richards, because right now all we know is just some of the shady things, not all, but some of the shady things that has happened during his time in The Price is Right, to the point where he ended up getting sued. Well, not getting sued. Actually, that he did end up getting like a bunch of lawsuits, and also the things that he has said in his podcast. So you never know if there's going to be more that might be exposed about him. Maybe even like some testimonials, like maybe some people who did previously work with him will actually come out. And the more that might be revealed, then maybe the more likely Mike Richards would just want to go and bail out. So I think it really is one of those 3 things why he ultimately decided to go and step down. So by this point now, Jeopardy is now left without an actual permanent host, and they seem to not be that interested to keep Mayim Bialik as a legitimate full-time host, which, for me personally, like I said before, honestly, I wouldn't really mind as much if they actually went with Mayim Bialik, because honestly, I do find her to be one of the better guest hosts that we had recently, and I would even go as far and say that she was probably the best female host. And if Jeopardy did reveal, or if the people at Sony decided that they would make her the the actual permanent host, then honestly, I would be perfectly fine with it. But regardless of how much research Sony wants to do and all that kind of stuff, there is no denying that there is only one name that has often been resurfaced of who people really want to be the host of Jeopardy. And Chatwall, I would like to go and ask you, do you guys know who the person that people want the most to be the actual host of Jeopardy? Let me know. Do you guys know who it is? Just ask. If someone is saying Jim Carrey, it's like, what? Oh boy, no, it's not Jim Carrey. Yes, people are saying it. It is, in fact, LeVar Burton. And honestly, at this point, like, it doesn't require a whole lot of research to know that the public demands to have LeVar Burton be the next Alex Trebek. And on top of that, he has definitely proven himself worthy when he was a host. Like, I think I've already mentioned this again, but I think LeVar Burton actually did a very good job when he was the host of Jeopardy. So honestly, why not actually give him the job? Considering that's what a lot of people are very vocal on the internet are demanding to have. Why not actually go with him? I don't like. Honestly, I find it ridiculous that Sony Pictures is even doing this whole like guest host thing again. Like, why try to go and do this whole batch again when people are really fixated in this one massive decision? Why not actually deliver what they want? I mean, especially with the fact that during the time with the guest host, LeVar Burton only had 1 week, where most of the others only had 2 weeks. Like, why not actually give LeVar Burton a chance and give him a whole season to try out as the actual host of Jeopardy and go from there? See, like, how that might affect the ratings. Especially if this is what people want and people have been very vocal about it, then why not try out LeVar Burton? But then again, one thing I will say, and I mean, this might be a big accusation on Mike Richards, but I gotta say, considering the shady things that has been mentioned about Mike Richards, and especially regarding his influence that he has in the show, or at least his possible influence, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Richards does not want LeVar Burton to be on the show because he's black. I know that seems like an extreme allegation right there, but I would not be surprised if that would be the case, especially from the things that we have heard related to Mike Richards. So maybe that could be a legitimate factor why he has yet to be announced as the permanent host. But I feel like right now Sony is just really delaying the inevitable, and why not just like give him the role, man? If not, then honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the next host is going to be white. So I'm just laying that out there. And I mean, again, this is nothing more but an allegation. I could totally be wrong with it. But if they're not going to go with LeVar Burton, then it's probably possible that they're just going to go with another white person, and LeVar didn't get the job because he's black. I know. Again, it's crazy. Sounds like a major allegation. But considering the things that we have heard about Mike Richards, it's not impossible. So yeah, overall, it's a pretty crazy update. It's an insane update that we have heard, but yeah, you know what? I will say, at least it is a step up. At least like things are looking brighter. I'm not saying it's looking completely bright for Jeopardy, but it is brighter than what it used to be. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about Mike Richards no longer being the permanent host of Jeopardy? Are you guys relieved about it? Are you guys a little disappointed about it? Do you not agree with the decision? And also, now that Mike Richards is no longer the host, who would you like to see as the new permanent host of Jeopardy? Let me know what you think. Let's see. Oh, someone actually has a very interesting one. Prior to Trebek's death, he personally recommended that CNN legal analyst Laura Coates would take his place as the full-time host if he lived long enough to finish out his final contract in 2022. Do you think Sony would finally decide to call her to becoming a guest host if Laura is still interested in taking the job? You know, honestly, I actually did hear about the news because not long after Mike Richards was kicked out, there were reports about how Alex Trebek had a few suggestions of his host of who would be the heir to his throne. And honestly, considering that now that Sony is pretty much open to having more guest hosts again, I think those recommendations are definitely going to be on board. So yeah, I think Laura Coates would definitely get a chance to actually be a guest host. So I think we will have to wait and see. But yeah, there probably is a strong chance. We'll see now. We'll see. Let's see. I'm pretty surprised that Mike Richards stepped down as a host. Even though Mike would still work as an executive producer, Mayim might not be good if not a great temporary host of Jeopardy. It would be awesome if LeVar Burton would become the next Alex Trebek. I would love to ask if you ever watch Reading Rainbow and can you sing the theme song? No, honestly, I have never seen Reading Rainbow in my life. I mean, I am, of course, very well aware of it. I'm not as familiar with the theme song. I know what it is. I know a little, like, bits and pieces, but I can't, like, fully sing it out like all in one shot, you know? Like, yeah, I know the part is like, take a look, it's in a book, Reading Rainbow. Yeah, like that part maybe, but yeah, I'm not all that familiar. But yeah, I think honestly, at least in terms of the temporary host job, she'll do fine. Like she did a pretty solid work when she was the guest host, and like for the 3 weeks that she'll do, I think she'll be okay. Let's see what else we have. I am one of the many people who still wants LeVar Burton or Buzzy Cohen to host Jeopardy. Oh, okay, yeah, actually, I'm not gonna lie, Buzzy Cohen was one of my top picks, actually. I remember he was, Buzzy Cohen was actually a guest host for the Tournament of Champions, and he actually did a great job. Like, if they went with Buzzy, honestly, I would be satisfied there. He did an awesome job there. Anyways, but I would be fine if Mayim Bialik, since she happens to have humility. But no matter who the choice is, all I ask is please do not bring back the quack Dr. Oz. Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, and I'm already seeing like a few people even mentioning that as long as it's not Dr. Oz, I am happy. And I am the same as well. Like, honestly, I would say Dr. Oz is the one person who is worse than Mike Richards as the host. Even like during his time as a guest host, it was pretty cringy. So yeah, I'm definitely on your side there. Okay, let's see. This decision was for the best, considering Mike Richards' past and his horrible actions. He would have, he would be a terrible choice as a host. As for Mayim Bialik being a temporary host, I don't think it's that bad, and she was one of the better guest hosts of the show that they had. I do hope LeVar Burton will be the new host, as long as Dr. Oz is not the new host. All right, let's see what else we got. Not surprised to see Mike Richards stepping down as a host of Jeopardy, and it is the right move for Sony to do so. Sony should have picked a better host that doesn't involve some controversy, so I hope they pick the right host next time as the search continues. If it's either Mayim Bialik or LeVar Burton, that is fine. If not, then it would take a long while to find a new host. Exactly. And that's like a major factor that I feel like why it would have been better to just like pick LeVar Burton and just go from there, considering the heavy amount of demands that are happening right now for people to want him to be the host. So that way, like, they know their ratings are most likely going to be secure from there. I think like LeVar Burton would not only would it be like the best choice, but it definitely would be the safest choice for now. But if they think they could do better, all right, let's see what you got, Sony. Let's see what we got here. Who else? Wow, with all these developments, it seems like Mike Richards' career really is in jeopardy, am I right? Yeah, no, because he's still the executive producer, and he pretty much lost nothing in this case. But in all seriousness, if I had to pick my suggestion for Richards' permanent replacement after Bialik, I'd go with LeVar Burton, since he had a lot of infectious energy as a host. Hell, if you can't get him, just go all out and get Steve Harvey. You fucking Steve Harvey, what? Hell, maybe have a contestant crack a joke with him, and that's all like, what is naked grandma, Steve? Oh my god. Go with Steve Harvey. Oh my god. Yo, imagine that freaking energy. Oh my god, that would just be great, man. Steve Harvey. Like, that would just be amazing. Every time, like I just want to see his face every time, like, nobody answers, because it does happen often, like, when one of the questions was brought out, and then, like, nobody answers, like, they just don't know. Like, imagine, like, one of the easy, like, $200 questions, nobody gets it, and there's just gonna be that long pause where you're just gonna see Steve Harvey just staring at them like, are you kidding? Y'all did not get the answer? Y'all didn't get it. What is Nana? All right. Oh my god. Oh yeah. No, honestly, yeah, Steve Harvey would seem like a joke one, but like, unironically, if they're gonna go with all the guest host thing, I would be curious to know how Steve Harvey would be as a host of Jeopardy. You know, honestly, I would be, I want to know. I am curious. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what else. I'll read two more comments before we jump into the next story here. Wow, this is actually the biggest news of August since Hurricane Henry. Considering that Mike Richards have had a very shady history, especially with The Price is Right, Jeopardy did do the right thing to give Richards the boot as the main host. Mike Richards is an absolutely horrible human being, and I hope he never comes to the camera again. All we need now is to get LeVar Burton as the permanent host. Now that would be worth the price of admission. Hashtag LeVar Burton for Jeopardy host. All right, that is nice there. Let's see, one more comment now. I think I've read you. I met you. Who else? Who else that I haven't read now? I just want to see. Yes, okay. But, let's see. I'll go with this one. I do think that LeVar Burton would be a good host. If I would choose who would be the new Jeopardy host, I think Robert Downey Jr. would be great. Yes, Robert Downey Jr. would actually do a very good job as a host. But the only problem is that he is an A-list celebrity, and I think he is way too busy with plenty of other stuff than just to be a game show host. So, yeah, like, not a bad idea. Like, it's a great idea in theory, but in practice, it's impossible because, well, Robert Downey Jr. is just too big of a celebrity to actually do a job like that. And oh my God, somebody even mentions, like, I see someone says, like, Matt, you should be the one to host. I mean, I could, but then again, you're kind of going into the opposite spectrum, in terms of celebrity status. Like, we're going from Robert Downey Jr. to godforsaken me, and yeah, like, I would definitely love to, but I'm not that famous enough to be Alex Trebek's replacement. I'm just saying. All right, so anyways, let's go and move on to the next story. Now, this is kind of like a semi-update to a previous story that I talked about. Or in a way, you could say this is like a spiritual successor. Because in terms of the story right here, there's not necessarily a whole lot to actually go and talk about. But instead, this is something that I feel like it is worth talking because it does reflect upon what's going to be happening at the very least for the rest of the year. And what I am talking about is actually regarding a recent move that is pulled by the Addams Family. Yes, MGM and Braun Creatives have announced that they are going to be doing something a little bit different with the Addams Family 2, where not only are they going to be releasing it in theaters on October 1st, but on that same day, they're also going to go and release it digitally. Yes, they are going to go and pull off the digital rental thing, a very similar move to what we have been seeing with plenty of other companies, like whether it be Disney or with Paramount, or with Universal, or with plenty of all these different companies. What they are pretty much doing right now by doing the simultaneous release of putting it on the big screen and giving an option at home, regardless if it's digital or if it's streaming. And of course, we do know the reason why, and that is because of the Delta variant of the coronavirus, where now we are entering a new wave of the pandemic, which does spell out a bit of bad news for movie theaters, which is why studios are pretty much changing up their options right now, which is why we are seeing like some movie delays like what Sony did last week, or we have seen some movies optioning digital as well, which is why I said this is kind of like a spiritual successor to a previous story I talked about, where this is a little bit similar to what we have seen last week, where Sony Pictures Animation is now talking with Amazon for a $100 million deal to take away Hotel Transylvania Transformania from theaters and instead just put it on Amazon Prime Video, make it an exclusive there. Pretty much a similar strategy to what Sony Animation has been doing this year by moving their features such as Mitchells vs. the Machines, Wish Dragon, and Vivo onto Netflix. But this time around, it seems that Addams Family 2 is also doing an action as well and doing that simultaneous release. Not just giving up on the big screen, but then again, they are also giving out the option to put things out digitally. Like, you can also have the option to watch it at home. So, with that said, considering that we are dealing with a situation that is related to the pandemic, this is something that I do want to bring up again. I've already talked about it extensively last week with that Hotel Transylvania story, but it does bear repeating because now it does highlight something pretty big, not just with these two movies in particular, but also for what could be with the rest of the year, at least in terms of family films and animated films. Because the big thing, as we all know, with the Delta variant of the coronavirus, we are unfortunately entering upon a brand new wave where now we're seeing infection rates and unfortunately death rates and hospital rates. They are going significantly up. And there are places such as Florida where because of the heavy amount of anti-vaxxers and anti-maxxers, like their numbers are going like way higher than like how things were back in 2020 and stuff like that. And so, because all this is happening, even though we do have the vaccine, now action needs to be taken where now stricter rules are happening again, especially when it comes to mask mandates, and yes, even vaccine mandates, where vaccine passports are becoming more and more of an actual possibility to actually happen. In fact, there are some places where they do happen, whether it be in some municipalities like in New York City, or even full-on countries like in France, where they demand to actually have a vaccine passport. And when it comes to movie theaters in this case, well, they're not going to go down without a fight. They're not going to go and do the same thing like they've done before and just close down all over again. They want to remain open, because if they have to close down again, then that means there are going to be a whole bunch of chains that might actually go into bankruptcy. In fact, freaking AMC, I think it was AMC. Yeah, it was AMC that actually did go nearly bankrupt on this case. But considering that they don't want to do that, then they're going to go and comply, and it is highly likely now that we are going to see an increasing amount of movie theaters that will agree to actually have a vaccine passport. And if there are going to be vaccine passports, then that pretty much spells doom for family features and for mainstream animated movies. Because the thing is, in our current situation, kids under 12 are not allowed to have the vaccine. Like, we don't know if it's actually safe for them to actually have the vaccine. And even if it is approved right now, it's still going to take a significant amount of time for kids to actually register and to actually get their first shots and stuff like that. So from there, it is still going to be a long process, even if they do approve it now. But for now, they have not. And yeah, that does spell trouble for these animated features and for these family films, which is why we are seeing delays or just skipping the movie theater experience entirely, which is what we have seen with stuff like Clifford the Big Red Dog delaying or Hotel Transylvania just bailing out. Which is why we see movies such as The Addams Family 2 pulling off what seems to be the safest bet to go and make everyone happy, where they'll be released in theaters to keep movie theaters happy, and they'll also go and put it on digital, especially for areas that aren't able to go onto the big screen experience, or for cautionary parents that want to make sure their kids are safe and they don't have to bring their kids to the movie theaters, and that they could go watch this new movie at home. So at least they got the option right there. And I'm going to be very honest. And by the way, before I continue, I just want to say right now that what I'm about to say is my opinion and it is my theory. This is not 100% that this is going to happen. This is just my speculation based on the current situation with the pandemic and based on what we have went through with 2020. So keep in mind, take this information with a grain of salt. Keep in mind, this is just a theory and this is not an actual fact. But from what I personally feel like with what's going on and with the recent moves that we have seen from both Hotel Transylvania and from The Addams Family 2, I think this is going to be the rest of our 2021. I think this is honestly going to be what's going to happen with the rest of the animated movies, like at the very least, for the animated films. Now, I know that technically we don't necessarily have a whole lot of mainstream animated features left. Like, yeah, we do have Hotel Transylvania and Addams Family coming up, but like, we know what's going to be happening with them. But we don't really know what's happening with some of the other ones, like Encanto, Ron's Gone Wrong, or Sing 2. Especially the fact when two of which are technically from Disney, where we got one from Disney Animation and one from 20th Century. And then we got another one from Illumination Entertainment, which is under Universal. And they might have a little bit of different strategies as well. But one thing I can say is that in the case of Disney, I know that they have made their promise that The Jungle Cruise would be the last movie that they have made that would that would have the premium access thing, because throughout 2021, we have seen Disney do the simultaneous release of putting their movie on the big screen and releasing their film on Disney Plus. But in this case right over here, I personally feel like, The Jungle Cruise is not going to be the last one, and they are going to be continuing with this simultaneous release. At least that's how I feel like with what they're going to do with something like Ron's Gone Wrong, or especially with Encanto. In fact, one thing I will say, like, yeah, they are going to have their experiments. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I do believe that they are still going to go and try to experiment, especially with Shang-Chi. Or, like, well, I guess calling Shang-Chi an experiment, I understand that it is controversial. But the whole situation with that is, yeah, they will go and experiment to see if releasing a movie only in theaters might work out. But it's definitely not going to work out with kids' films. And I'm just going to do a prediction, but honestly, I would not be surprised if, in the case of Ron's Gone Wrong, they're going to do a Disney Plus exclusive. Like, they're just going to skip the movie theaters. They're going to skip the big screen entirely, and they're just going to put that just on Disney Plus. And as for Encanto and as for Sing 2, I think those two, they are going to go and do the same thing. Like, Encanto is going to have the big screen experience while at the same time also going to be released with premium access on Disney Plus, which, by the way, with the Ron's Gone Wrong thing, I don't think they're going to do the premium access. I think they're going to treat it like Pixar, and they're just going to go and put it up for free. That at least is my prediction. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I think. So yeah, going back with Encanto, yeah, I think they're going to do the same thing with that. They're going to put it up on the big screen, and they're going to put it up with premium access. And when it comes to Sing 2, Universal is going to do the exact same thing with The Boss Baby 2. Where that is going to be released on the big screen. That's not going to change. But at the same time, they're also going to go and put it up on Peacock. So that people would go and have that option as well, and do like maybe do this big deal that they're going to go and heavily promote the fact that they would go and release Sing 2 on, like, you could also check it out on Peacock as well. That's at least my prediction with how things might possibly go with family films at this rate, because if 2021 is going to look like how it is with 2020, especially with this new wave we're gonna go, yeah, it's only gonna get worse from here. And like, I know technically things are a little bit different now, especially now that we do have the vaccine. But it doesn't look like the vaccine is really going to change much, especially with the fact that we still have a bunch of these anti-maskers and these anti-vaxxers that are continuously spreading misinformation amongst their own communities and even on the internet. Yeah, like, we're not going to see that much of a big change, which is why, honestly, I'm just going to say right now, I feel like it pretty much is highly important that, yeah, if we want to return to normal, then we should return to normal without those anti-maskers and without those anti-vaxxers. Like, I am honestly a very strong supporter of the vaccine passport. And if these people are just going to be ignoring science, if they're going to be ignoring the facts, and they just care about doing what they want to do and just continuously spread misinformation so that they could have things desperately go their way, then you know what? We could pretty much live in a society without these people. Like, if they would rather get COVID instead of getting a vaccine, then fine, let them go and get COVID, because like, now we can actually prove that we can live without these anti-maskers and without these anti-vaxxers. And when it comes with movie theaters, yeah, I think like, at this rate, they'll definitely comply to go and say, screw these anti-vaxxers, and just go and put up like these vaccine mandates, because right now it seems like a better alternative than to just shut down again. Like, trust me, like, like, for movie theaters, it's either they would have vaccine passports or they would have to shut down again and like put a temporary hold until things do actually get better for cinemas and stuff like that. So yeah, like, it sucks on the movie theaters end, but right now they're left with very little options, and they want to do the best they can in order for their economy to thrive. And if their economy would mean sacrificing the money of anti-vaxxers, then so be it. I mean, like, they're nothing more but a deplorable minority anyways. Like, if they don't want to listen to the facts, if they want to put themselves over everyone else, then fine. Let's go and treat them exactly like that. So honestly, that is just my prediction, and that's why I find this move with what MGM and Braun has done with the Addams Family too, because yeah, honestly, you gotta expect that this is going to happen for the rest of 2021, and maybe, just maybe, we could also see this happen throughout 2022 as well. I mean, with this pandemic, it is unpredictable. We can't fully be sure of when this is going to be officially over, especially with how, especially when like back during like the early summer, we were thinking like we could be in the tail end because more and more people are getting vaccinated. Excuse me. Like we were thinking more and more people would be vaccinated and stuff like that. But no, apparently we were proven wrong, and now we're entering into a new wave, which debatably could be even worse than what we have experienced back in 2021, unless people actually put in the effort to wear a mask and to actually get vaccinated. So overall, yeah, like it's a pretty crappy situation, but we do have to gotta expect the worst, honestly, because with what we're seeing with the Addams Family 2 and with Hotel Transylvania, unfortunately, we gotta expect more of that. We do have to see more of these animated movies and these family films that they are gonna go and make the move either on streaming or on digital. And like maybe they won't fully bail out of the big screen experience, but don't be surprised if they actually do. I mean, if a big billion-dollar franchise like Hotel Transylvania would say screw the big screen and they would just head exclusively to streaming, then yeah, nobody is safe. Okay, so what I would like to go into now, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the Addams Family 2 making this move, and how do you feel about how things are going to be with the rest of 2021? Do you feel like things are going to be back to normal now? Do you think like a whole bunch of movies are going to pull off this similar move, or do you think things might actually get better and maybe movies like Encanto and Sing 2 are just going to stay on the big screen? Let me know what you think. All right. This is actually a great idea considering how we are in a new age of the pandemic. This is a great idea to keep movie theaters happy and keep kids safe as well. Also, in terms of movie theater experience in the future, I believe Shang-Chi is going to be a make or break deal for movies for the rest of the year. If that film fails, more big movies could potentially end up getting delayed to 2022 and beyond. Yeah, that's also going to be a major thing, honestly. I think we will have to go and keep a big eye on Shang-Chi. And by the way, I just want to mention right now that, like, not only should we keep a big eye on it, but also keep an eye on it for a while, because we have seen a bit of a pattern when it comes to these big movies, rather it be stuff like Black Widow or with Space Jam: A New Legacy, where on their first week, it seems like things are going extremely well. They made a massive amount of money at the box office, but then following the second week, they would tank hard. So there is that possibility as well that maybe Shang-Chi could start off doing great at the box office, and then by its second week, it would just fail out. So honestly, yeah, like for now, we should keep an eye out on Shang-Chi, which is actually coming out in a few weeks, but keep an eye out on it for a while, because there is still that chance that, yeah, it might seem great at first, but then suddenly the whole experiment could fail and could probably plummet hard afterwards. So we'll see. Let's see. This news does make me wonder why they couldn't do this with Transformania. I never express a lot of good from the Addams Family 2, but I do understand why this change was made. Hell, like I said, this is honestly what Transformania should have done, but for now, all I can say here is wear a mask, get the vax, don't get in mass, ear grass, pass gas, and sled fast. Yeah, pretty much a good way to cap that off right here. I need to keep that in note. Like I need to note that, actually. That does sound like that does actually sound like a great way to cap something off. It's like, remember everybody, wear a mask, get the vax, don't gather in mass, eat grass, pass gas, and slide fast. Definitely a good one right over there. But I think I could actually answer that one, because the thing is, with because with what Sony Animation is doing, it's a completely different deal, but it's pretty much a secure way in order to know that they've already gotten a profit. And the reason why Transformania is doing so instead of doing what the Addams Family 2 is because by getting that $100 million, Sony is pretty much safe. That means that they've already made a profit immediately. Like, not only did they like cover the budget, but they've also gotten a bit more. So like they did get an immediate gain. And that's kind of like the gamble of like doing that kind of deal. Like, yeah, it's the safest way in order to actually make a profit, but there is a chance that you might not make as much of a profit. And there probably could have been a chance that, yeah, maybe Hotel Transylvania could have done the same thing like what the Addams Family 2 has done and be released on the big screen and do like some kind of digital rental. And Sony probably would have made a lot more money than from Amazon by doing so, from rental sales and from the box office as well. They could have done that, but I think it really is Sony Animation just trying to play it safe and sacrifice the big screen experience altogether in order to ensure that they can make some profit off of the movies that they have. Like, I could say right now, like all the movies they've released in 2021, they were successful. Sony did turn a profit out of them with Mitchell's vs. the Machines, with Vivo, with Wish Dragon, and with Transformania. But could they have been more successful if they were released on the big screen? Maybe. And yeah, some people could debate that maybe they could have, especially with the massive positive response that we have seen from the Mitchells vs. the Machines, but it's their choice, and Sony is just playing it way too safe and just bailing out movie theaters altogether, just so they could go and be secure and like survive during these times, which, again, just want to warn you, don't be surprised if movie theaters are completely pissed off at Sony Animation, and they might do something drastic in response to that as revenge, you know, kind of like banning Spider-Verse 2 from airing on the big screen. So just a warning there. Let's see now. What else do we have? I have no words for this story, but holy crap, I am freaking pissed with these a-holes. Every single anti-masker / anti-vaxxer should be punished for their stupidity they cause on the planet. While I know the vaccines are still on the horizon, but this pandemic needs to end now. COVID is the worst thing we humans have ever faced. And yeah, I think honestly, the best thing we can do is just like the best thing to punish them and like punish them fairly is with the vaccine passports. We can't necessarily treat them as criminals, but we are allowed to take away their privileges, to make them not allowed to go into any form of non-essential service. Like, yeah, maybe they're allowed to go out and get some groceries and stuff like that, but they would never be allowed to do anything like do any form of outdoor gatherings, be allowed to do, be allowed to go anywhere, go to like going to the mall or going to the movies or stuff like that. So that's the best. So that's the best that we can do now. Punish anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers by taking away their privilege and treating them like lower class citizens, while we people who are wearing masks and are getting vaxxed, we will be able to get back to normal much sooner than they would. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. So much for 2021 being a better year. I have to agree with you, Matt, with your opinion, Matt. I'm just accepting. Ooh, actually, just got an update. Thank you so much, MetaRalph23, for that subscription. Very nice of you. Anyways, I'm just accepting the fact that we live in a new normal where movies like The Addams Family 2 being released digitally and Hotel Transylvania 4 skipping theaters. But this is for the best for our safety. I'm just glad everything isn't shutting down again. P.S. F the anti-maskers and F the anti-vaxxers. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And I mean, yeah, like things are not going to be back to normal. Like maybe things aren't going to be back to normal, but as long as we do wear masks and as long as we do get vaccinated, then the sooner we shall be back to normal. Maybe not entirely us as a society, but for ourselves at least, if we are doing our part to help out our community and help try to reduce the problem with the vaccines, then we will get back to normal. Just a normal without them, which in a way is a better normal. All right, let's see what else we got. I could see why MGM is doing this, like what other studios like Disney and Warner Brothers are doing, since this is an animated sequel that almost only kids would watch, along with Hotel Transylvania 4. As for Ron's Gone Wrong, I'm afraid it won't go to Disney Plus due to its current deal with 20th Century has with HBO, so I won't go there. It won't go there until the deal expires. For MGM's part, I can't blame them, so it's for the best. And yeah, you probably could be right. And that's why I said that's honestly why I said that it's nothing more but speculation. And like, I'm not going to get everything right 100% at the time. But it's just like maybe 20th Century does have a deal with HBO, so there is that case. But it is hard to imagine that Disney or 20th Century would just release Ron's Gone Wrong on the big screen without doing anything about it, especially at this rate of the pandemic. I wouldn't be surprised if they might change things up and do something about it. All right, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment before we jump into the next story. Honestly, I think the future of cinema is dark and is going to be nothing but streaming, especially when it's just going to cause piracy to become big news again. Let that be a reminder. Piracy is a big problem to this day. I mean, look what happened to the Suicide Squad. Okay, well, in the case of Suicide Squad, I will say that there are numerous factors as to why that movie was a box office bomb, despite getting all that massive praise from both critics and audiences. But yeah, especially nowadays, I can imagine how piracy is going to be a very massive problem, especially for movie theaters. I understand that where there are some defenses for piracy, and there are like a few rare instances where it does come in handy, but yeah, piracy is still a pretty bad thing. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it's like doing drugs, you know, like, you know, all those infomercials about don't do drugs and stuff like that. The same can be said with piracy. And yeah, like maybe a little bit at the time might be fine, and there are a few exceptions. That's okay. But in general, yeah, piracy can often be a crime, and just don't do it. And also, please don't watch your animated movies or watch your animated content on websites like Kim Cartoons. Like that thing is just a godforsaken like hellhole right there. Like Kim Cartoons or Kiss Cartoons or whatever, man. I mean, it's just, yeah, there are better options out there than to watch something from godforsaken Kiss Cartoon and get like whatever crazy viruses there would be. It's not worth risking your computer just to watch like the new episode of Jellystone or whatever. Okay, now I will admit that I know that bit of news was a little bit of a downer. We'll get some news where we can have a bit of a pick-me-up, you know? Something positive for a change that we could go and actually discuss about. And I think I might have the perfect solution, especially for certain fans out there where we are kind of seeing the return of a beloved show. Not really, but in a way, I guess you could say it is going to be the gender-bent version of the show. And what I'm going to be talking about is Fionna and Cake. Yes, HBO Max has announced a brand new spin-off series that is going to be coming soon on HBO Max based on Adventure Time, which will be starring the gender-bent version of the main characters of Adventure Time, Finn and Jake, which in this case is Fionna and Cake. And you can tell they are gender bent because, well, the human here is now a girl with long hair and some noticeable curves. And the animal character, Jake, well, now his name is Cake and is now a cat. But to go into a little bit of details of what this show is actually going to be about, I'm going to read you from my source here on Variety, as it states, in the 10-episode series, Fionna and Cake with the help of the former Ice King Simon Petrikov, embark on a multiverse-hopping adventure and journey of self-discovery, all while a powerful new antagonist determined to track them down and erase them from existence lurks in the shadows. And for now, what we do know about it is that this is actually going to be brought to us by Adventure Time veteran Adam Muto, in which he is going to be in charge both as the executive producer and showrunner of the series, which Cartoon Network Studios is going to be working on. And we do have a couple of quotes that I would like to go and read you here. The first of which is going to be from Billy Wee, the Senior Vice President of Comedy and Original Animation for HBO Max, in which it states, "Adventure Time truly broke the mold and earned legions of passionate fans in the process. We are thrilled to partner with our friends at Cartoon Network Studios to continue innovating and expanding the Adventure Time universe with this world-class team." We also got a quote here from Sam Register, the president of Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios, in which he states, "Adventure Time broke boundaries and was a shining example of how impactful animated storytelling can be. We are excited to partner with HBO Max to carry that tradition on to new heights, lands, and magical worlds." So that's pretty much the big thing that we are seeing right now, is the fact that Adventure Time is kind of coming back, but in the form of a spin-off starring Fionna and Cake. So, in a way, we are definitely getting more of Adventure Time in a sense, and I definitely do feel like this is pretty much a sign that technically the Adventure Time franchise is still as strong as ever. I mean, technically it was only a few years ago that the main Adventure Time series officially came to an end, that they had their proper conclusion, they finished up everything, and now it's time for Cartoon Network and for fans to go and move on. But not really. Because if there is one reason why I would say this show actually does exist, why HBO Max wants to go and do a Fionna and Cake series, I would have to say it's probably a strong indicator that Adventure Time Distant Lands is actually pretty popular and was actually quite successful on HBO Max. Because if you don't know, Adventure Time Distant Lands is an epilogue series, not necessarily a full-on spin-off show or even a full-on series itself. It's actually just a collection of hour-long, or is it hour-long, or 44-minute specials? Yeah, okay, no, they are 1 hour they are a set of 1 hour specials that pretty much update on where the characters are long after the series has finished. So, like, you would get one special that is an update on Finn and Jake, and they would be reunited after so long. And then there is an update on Princess Bubblegum and Marceline and how things are going with those two. And then you would get, like, a few others as well. I think so far they have released 3 of them, and there is going to be one more that shall be coming soon. But either way, it does seem like, yeah, fans are still demanding for, well, I don't know if I would say that fans are demanding for more Adventure Time, but whenever new Adventure Time stuff would happen, yeah, they would definitely be high on demand. Like, they would definitely want to go and have more, which is pretty much why we are seeing more things happening with Adventure Time in the form of Fionna and Cake. And it's kind of funny because in a way, this is pretty much Warner Brothers' excuse to go and actually make more Adventure Time without actually making more Adventure Time, because you could pretty much see how, like, you could still go and have, like, Finn and Jake on whatever kind of adventure we are seeing here. But in this case here, considering that the narrative of the original does establish that things with Finn and Jake, or at least their adventure, is pretty much over, you could pretty much have, like, the other characters that are kind of like Finn and Jake, but it's with Fionna and Cake. You see, it's different this time around because now Jake is a cat and Finn has boobs right now, so that makes it completely different. But yeah, But yeah, this is all to say that it definitely would not surprise me that, fans would definitely get on board with this. And especially if this means that they are technically getting more Adventure Time, now with these, and I do understand, it's not, I'm not saying that Fiona and Cake are the same as Finn and Jake, but, now with those characters right over here, it does give Cartoon Network more of a reason to go and actually continue the show. And also one thing I would like to mention, another indicator why it seems like they would definitely be willing to go and do this show is the idea of multiverse hopping. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but lately multiverses have been all the range right now, especially thanks to the massive success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and even I would say with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the concept of multiverses have become extremely popular, and we have started to see more and more of those starting to actually fully happen, and we've seen them pop up from time to time. Disney did it a little bit with that one scene with Ralph Breaks the Internet. You could say the Lego Movie was also one of the first to get into that realm of multiverses, or try to do their own multiverse with stuff like the Lego Batman movie and the Lego Ninjago movie and the first two movies as well, or the original and the sequel and stuff like that. And then you would also have other forms of multiverses, kind of with what Warner Brothers is doing, especially with stuff like Ready Player One, or even with or what we I don't know why I couldn't speak today. What we just saw with Space Jam: A New Legacy. That is also another very prominent example of how multiverses are becoming more and more of a popular concept. So, of course, in the case of Cartoon Network, they would definitely be down to try that out. In a way, they kind of did, because I believe there was that one special episode in OKKO where we did see this multiverse of Cartoon Network happening, especially when it does star some of the biggest shows that they had at the time, where we had Garnet from Steven Universe, we had OKKO, we had Raven from Teen Titans Go, and we also had Ben from the Ben 10 reboot, as well as a whole bunch of different cameos from a variety of different shows from Cartoon Network throughout its entire legacy. So this is not technically the first time that we would see Cartoon Network entering the realm of multiverses, but in the case here with Adventure Time, that does considering that they do have their own established multiverse going around, this would seem like the perfect opportunity for HBO Max and for Cartoon Network to fully take advantage of capitalizing on the multiverse concept. And why not with a series that people are still heavily consuming to this day, and that still has a very prominent fan base, even though it was only a few years ago that the series actually just finished. So in a way, I could imagine that this show might actually go well, at least in terms, I don't know how it is going to be as a series, and I don't know if it could turn out to be as strong as the original Adventure Time series, but I could imagine for fans of Adventure Time, they would definitely get on board with Fionna and Cake, and at least for the first few episodes, yeah, you'll definitely see a whole bunch of people binge watching it, and you'll definitely see a whole bunch of people really getting excited for it. And now it just made me realize that I know one person, I don't know, okay, I'm sure this person might have already responded to this news and stuff like that, but I can pretty much imagine, right now, Pie Guy Rules might be watching this right now, and they're like, fudge. Well, here we go again, adding in more to the blog, adding in more to his massive project of Adventure Time, adding more blogs or more vlogs to go and actually talk about with Adventure Time. So yeah, I can imagine that'll definitely be a lot more work for him. And yeah, I know there are definitely plenty of other cartoon reviewers that are also really excited. I know people like Pan Pizza and yeah, Joey as well are fans of Adventure Time, but just wanted to add that as well. So yeah, we don't have an official release date of when Fionna and Cake is going to be coming out, but yeah, expect Fionna and Cake to have their own adventures on HBO Max soon. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the announcement of the Fionna and Cake series? Are you guys curious about this? Are you not as interested? And especially if you are an Adventure Time fan, I would like to know your thoughts about this news, and if you are excited for it or not. Let me know what you think. Let's see now. This is definitely great news. While I'm not a huge fan of Adventure Time and only seen some episodes, I definitely won't deny it was a great game-changing series for Cartoon Network and help them make a comeback in the 2010 decade. But it's great to see Adventure Time still going strong to this day, and this show definitely could have a lot of potential. Also, Rule 34 artists are going to have a field day with this series. Well, they might, but that might depend on the new characters. We'll have to wait and see on which new characters they might go and make, because I'm sure in terms of Rule 34, there might already be enough of Fionna, or maybe even with Cake for that matter. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say, yeah, I'm sure, like, yeah, maybe the Rule 34 people are going to keep an eye out, but they want some fresh meat, per se. If they need more Rule 34 of Adventure Time, they need some new excuses to go and actually have that Rule 34. And who knows, maybe with the new antagonists that might be lurking in the shadows, that could be their next target. Who knows? Anyways, let's move on to our next one. As a modest fan of Adventure Time, I gotta say that this is a pretty intriguing concept. Fionna and Cake were pretty entertaining characters, and the story sounds quite interesting, so chances are I may check it out. Hell, maybe we'll get a cameo from Jake, and at one point, trying to find a honey from his homie. A baby for his buddy, if you will. Dare I say, a lady for his laddie. Oh yeah, I got where you're going with it. That's cute. Alright, what else do we have here? I may not watch Adventure Time that much, but I can easily understand why fans love the show and why HBO Max has been making even more Adventure Time content. After I watch some more Adventure Time, I think I'll try it out. Now, if you excuse me, I must try to stop the horde of Rule 34 artists. You can't stop the horde. There is nothing that can stop the Rule 34 artists. Trust me, they lurk. They're pretty much like the antagonists that they mention here. They lurk in the shadows. Actually, you know what? That would actually be something pretty interesting. That would make things so amazing. Like, imagine this: the villain that they're mentioning, the powerful new antagonist. Like, it actually turns out to be a Rule 34 artist. You never know. That could be an idea. Okay, let's see now. I may not be the #1 Adventure Time fan, but the concept of multiverses very much intrigues me with stuff like the Lego Movie, Super Smash Bros., Crossover Nexus, Avengers Infinity War, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Stranger Things, Joker, America the Motion Picture, the list goes on. Well, I mean, some of them are technically multiverses. I don't know, well, like, Stranger Things, I don't know if I would count that as a multiverse thing. Joker, I don't think so. I think it's more its own thing that doesn't connect to the DC, to the DCEU. America the Motion Picture, however, I don't know if I would call that, I don't know if I would necessarily call it a multiverse kind of thing. More like an absolute disaster and a complete mess. I think it would fit more in the category of that than it is a legitimate multiverse. All right, let's see what we got here. Do we have any more comments? I think I'll just go and read one more before we go and read. Let's see. I'm more excited for the Alphas and Betas series featuring the Vanos crew with Brian, Marcel, and Tyler, but I wish good luck on the continuation of this grand series. Well, you never know. You never know right now, considering the fact that if it is going to be with Fionna and Cake, and like we will be on board with that multiverse, maybe we will have we will have more cameos from those characters, like with Tyler, Brian, and Marcel. So who knows? Maybe we will be seeing those characters as well. right, so with our next story that we have here, well, I actually got a trailer to show you all. And this time around, this is going to be something that has a lot of interest. And I know there are several versions of this trailer, but considering that this is a podcast that's not only on both Twitch and YouTube, but also people are listening to this in audio form, that they're listening in their podcast services, I'm going to go with the English dub so that everyone could go and understand. So, with that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for what is possibly, or I think it is, Disney's first ever anime that will be streaming exclusively on Disney Plus, Star Wars Visions. So let me go and set myself up, and let's check this one out.
Long ago, a great warrior came to this village and entrusted our ancestors with this. Its power and responsibility now lie with you.
You've been guided by the Force since you were born.
At last, the moment arrives.
It's the first time I've confronted such darkness. Something ancient and sinister.
We're going to be a proper family.
Let's make this our best show ever!
フォースと共にあらんこと。
I accept this responsibility.
And that was Star Wars Visions, which is going to be coming soon on September 22nd for Disney Plus. And as you can pretty much tell, basically the best way to sum up Star Wars Visions is that this is going to be an anthology series all based on Star Wars anime. And on that front, I gotta say, this trailer completely sold on all of that. You got your anime, you got your different tastes in terms of how it is as an anthology, and it is full on Star Wars. Now, I'm just going to go and start with the one thing that I will say that I am unsure right now, and that is regarding how the stories are going to be, because obviously that doesn't seem to be the main focus with what they are presenting right now in this trailer, how these individual stories are going to go, what they are going to be about, because from the looks of things, they are leaning in a lot more on the action, really focusing on the big battles and the big moments that people are definitely going to be waiting for while they are going to be watching the show. But there are some, from what I've read about what's going to be some of these stories, there will be some that will be more character driven and some that will have a lot more of a plot line. So those ones I am curious to know, and there's nothing really in here that is telling me about how these stories shall be, other than the fact that they do have a strong link with Star Wars. But with that said, though, damn, boy, honestly, that's my best response that I can say in short. Is just damn, they really nailed every aspect on what they want to try to sell with Star Wars. They nailed the anthology aspect, they nailed the anime aspect, and they nailed the Star Wars aspect. Like, a lot about this actually looks epic. I don't know where to start. Actually, okay, I'm going to start things off by saying that already I could tell the animation here is gorgeous, especially with the way that we have a wide variety, not just like your typical anime style that we would usually see, like even though we do have a few of those, but there are some that we do see that it does look a little bit cute. We got like, there was one moment where we see like the rock band aspect. Like that, that looks cute. That looks a little fun. Where it looks like you got this kid that's rocking out in front of an audience that looks like the same stage for pod racing. And then like you got like Studio Trigger's art style that is like highly prominent right over here. Like a lot of people are pretty much saying that the Studio Trigger segment really looks like Promare. In fact, one of the characters look like they came out directly from Promare, and that art style definitely looks epic right over there. Not to mention like the girl we see here wielding a whole bunch of lightsabers. Like a lot of people are already mentioning that this is a gender bent General Grievous that they do have. And then there's also stuff that's a lot more serious, like one aspect that looks very black and white, that looks like a blend of like it looks like it has like this sketchy style, but it's actually computer animated. That looks amazing as well. And just the list goes on with the different styles that they are promising from a variety of highly acclaimed anime studios. So they already sold me on the anime aspect. It just like a lot about this. And here's another art style that we have here that definitely looks a lot more cute. Like I think this is the one where they said that this is going to be more like an homage to Astro Boy that they are going to include in Star Wars, which honestly, considering that it is Star Wars, doing something based on Astro Boy, it feels in place. It doesn't seem far off from what Star Wars would actually do. So yeah, like like in terms of the animation, it just looks absolutely gorgeous, with each segment having their own style. And also in terms of the Star Wars aspect, that's what I love about it, is the way that each of this art style, not only is it unapologetically anime, but there's just something about it that really feels like it stays true to the Star Wars lore. Like, yeah, there is like now that massive influence of Japan that is now in there, and that is like highly prominent, especially when some like they do have they would have that Japanese style, and like you would have like that heavy influence of Japanese culture. In a way, you could say that there is a lot more Japan in some segments, more so than Star Wars in a way, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is far off from what Star Wars is, considering that there is already some Japanese influence that's already within Star Wars. It's not far off to imagine how there was a time when it was more Japan than Star Wars in the Star Wars mythos. So a lot of it is in place, especially when we do talk about the legends related to the Jedi, with the Jedi and the dark side and stuff like that, that can actually that can also be something where we can see some parallels with Japanese mythos and stuff like that. So the way that they do blend Japanese culture and Star Wars here, that is also something that I do find to be really awesome. And the action scenes, holy crap, the action scenes are freaking epic in this. Not to mention that we do have a bit of a taste of like a whole bunch of like new kinds of lightsabers in here, like a bunch of different kinds of lightsabers. Like even the General Grievous girl apparently has this not only was she holding like 6 different red lightsabers, but they also function as whips as well, where like they're all like holding on to this one kid's lightsaber. So that's an awesome one. But I think like one major highlight for me, it was it went by so quickly, but it's like it was a moment where I was wondering, like, what the fridge? I want to see more of that. Yes. Okay, this moment right over here. Like, we got this ninja-looking dude, like, somehow has this mechanical lightsaber thing. Yeah, okay, okay, it's just, like, a very brief moment, but it's, like, I think the best way to describe it, it's a freaking lightsaber umbrella. It's a lightsaber umbrella that is meant to go and deflect whatever massive blasters that would be on their way. And look at it, like, it really serves as, like, a legitimate umbrella, like, has, like, a freaking machine gun, and just, like, whatever blasters they would have, like this umbrella would just spin around and activate its lightsabers to deflect the blasters. Now that is one part right over here that I do find to be absolutely epic, and I want to see more of that, like, especially if we're going to see a brand new side of Star Wars and see all these different cool ideas of what they're going to do with the action scenes, then yeah, I would definitely be on board with it. Like, honestly, I think this could, like, Star Wars Visions, if done right, then I think this could actually go and be on par with what we got with Genndy Tartakovsky's Star Wars series. Like, even though with that one, I would say, like, yeah, there's barely any much story that was really going on with Genndy's Star Wars, I still say that it definitely is the most underrated animated Star Wars content that was ever created. Like, this is not to go and bash any of the recent animated Star Wars stuff that was made, like with Clone Wars or with Rebels or even recently with Bad Batch. But still, though, honestly, I feel like this is something that we would get that we haven't had in a long time, with, like, a lot of these, like, crazy epic battles that are going on and being introduced to a bunch of, like, brand new characters that could actually play a significant role in the Star Wars world. Like, you never know who could actually turn out to be the next Ahsoka Tano that starts out as something from animation, but then would later go on to have a prominent role for herself, even getting her own live action series. So yeah, honestly, overall, with what I'm seeing with Star Wars Visions, it actually looks absolutely epic, and I would definitely be interested to see what they have when this is going to be coming out on Disney+. So, if you guys are excited to go and check out Star Wars Visions, then remember that the series is going to be coming out on September 22nd, both as an English dub and as an English sub with a Japanese dub. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about this trailer of Star Wars Visions? Are you guys excited for it? Is it a little too different for your taste compared to other Star Wars stuff? Let me know what you think, especially if you are a Star Wars fan. Okay, let's see. This series looks amazing. While I'm not a big Star Wars fan myself, this definitely has great potential, especially with the different animation styles and the different stories, and a great way to expand the Star Wars universe. It really is great to see the Star Wars TV series on a roll lately, especially with stuff like The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch, and it's great to see Star Wars doing it in a different direction, especially after the sequel trilogy was a mess. Well, I mean, I guess it is debatable if it is a mess. Actually, please don't debate that, because then it would just immediately ignite a flame war, actually. All we need to do is just get rid of those anti-social justice warriors. Yeah, tell me about it. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised right now if, like, you will get those anti-social justice warriors find a way to put hate on this, mainly because some of them star a woman and not a man. You never know, like, especially with the way they rant about women anytime they see them in a prominent position that is not treated like a sex object. They'll rant about anything and anything just for desperate attempts to get views and stuff like that. They're all nothing but grifters. Anyways, well, I never thought Star Wars could actually work so well as an anime, but here we are. The animation is phenomenal, and all the action is just jaw-dropping, and the ideas for the stories they present here are really interesting, so this will be a must-watch. Actually, if this is based on stories in the Jedi texts, I may finally have an excuse to say, don't say you enjoyed the anime if you haven't read the manga. Oh, that is actually true. that could be true. Considering that some of them seem like they are going into ancient times, maybe some of those stories could actually be from the Jedi texts. That like we will see a like maybe one of these stories or some of these stories could be like the Skyward Sword of Star Wars, where it's like the prequel of all prequels in a way. Like, I don't know, it could be highly unlikely, and if Disney would do something like that, they would make it something like a big deal, like a multi-million-dollar movie or something like that, but it could be an idea. It could. Let's see now. Holy crap, this is gorgeous. I'm not even sure that I can even decide how amazing all of these look. Heck, I have a really hard time trying to pick a favorite segment from this trailer. All of this action and new stories are absolutely insane, and yet they still feel like they fit into the Star Wars universe. I'll watch this as soon as this comes out. Yeah, honestly, I might be on the same boat as you. Honestly, it feels hard to pick like which one I would say is my favorite because all of them look absolutely amazing. So I think the best thing to do is just wait until the actual thing comes out and then we can decide which one will be our favorite. Let's see. This looks absolutely epic. The animation is gorgeous and the story looks interesting. I can't wait to watch this on Disney Plus. By the way, I just want to mention that this is not Disney's first anime, that they had two based on Lilo and Stitch. Other than that, though, I'm totally psyched for this. Yes, but what I meant to say, though, is that this is the first exclusively for Disney Plus. I mean, I'm not saying that Disney never made an anime before, or that there was an anime with Disney licensed characters before. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying specifically for Disney Plus, not Disney. Big difference. Let's see what else we have here. The trailer looks incredible, and it made me hyped even more. The animation looks tremendous, the action scenes look like it's going to be epic, each story of an anthology episode looks interesting, voice acting sounds very solid, at least for the English dub, and characters look like they're going to be great. Overall, this trailer has sold me, and while I watch the anime occasionally from time to time, like Beastars and Demon Slayer, this one I can't wait to see it next month. All right, and then I think I'm going to go with one more comment before we jump into the grand finale. Holy crap, this is gorgeous. I'm not even sure that I can even describe how amazing all this looks. Heck, I have a really hard time picking a favorite segment from this trailer. Oh, no, wait, no, I'm sorry. I think I already watched this. I already read that one. Sorry, I'm going to go with another one. Let's see. Yeah, sure, I'll go with this one. Indeed, this looks action-packing fantastic, and interesting enough, since I am personally a filmmaker myself, if there would be another Star Wars project ahead, I would participate. I would present a design of a brand new astonishment and reminiscent to the 2RD robots. Okay, and then going on to this person's idea. Okay, so I think from here, we're pretty. Oh, actually, this one is interesting to read. I can't stop reminiscing about the anime franchises that are being paid homage in this trailer: Kill la Kill, Gundam, Macross, Sword of the Strangers, Captain Haddock, etc. If this dared to flop, not likely, then God pray for this soul. Insert Pacha meme. So yeah, if all of you, well, it seems like all of you are actually pretty excited for this. So if you are excited, if you are interested to check out Star Wars Visions, then mark your calendars because it is going to be coming out next month on September 22nd. All right, so with that said, it is now time that we are going to jump onto the grand finale. And I just want to point out something big, something a little bit important that I do want to mention. A little bit of a warning, per se. But what I am going to be talking about, I'm not going to be showing anything bad, but what I will be getting into will be in terms of the subject matter regarding sexually explicit content. I will be discussing the subject about sex and nudity, and in terms of the pornographic industry, especially on the internet. So I just want to warn you right now that if you are not comfortable discussing about that subject matter, or if you're not comfortable in an area where people would talk about it, then feel free to leave. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching. I understand this is a subject matter I don't think many people would be comfortable to go and talk about, but considering the news regarding this week and from what we have heard about it, I think it's honestly unavoidable to go and discuss how things are going with this. So, with all that said and done, let us go and talk about the OnlyFans controversy. What happened with OnlyFans? Well, believe it or not, they announced that they will no longer be presenting porn. Pornography is officially going to be banned starting this October. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with OnlyFans, if you guys don't know what that is, OnlyFans is best described as a website that is similar to something like Patreon, where it's a website where content creators can do whatever they want on the platform, and then you would get patrons or subscribers come in where they would give them, the creators, money in order to have their services, in order to go and indulge in the content that they would go and do, whether it be creating videos, whether it be creating art, whether it be creating music, or whatever. It's very much like Patreon. However, unlike Patreon, the one thing that OnlyFans does stand out compared to what Patreon would do is that OnlyFans has a very prominent adult section. In fact, I would say most of users from OnlyFans are dedicated to creating adult content, whether it be through pictures or through videos or through art. There is a massive base, and the grand majority of users on OnlyFans that would actually go and make sex-related content, whether it be taking naked pictures of themselves, whether it be showing sexy videos and put them up on OnlyFans or stuff like that. The list goes on. That there is a prominent X-rated section on OnlyFans, and nowadays the first thing you would think of with OnlyFans is actually with that adult-related content. However, in an attempt to go and try to satisfy the people who are running OnlyFans, or the people who are giving money to OnlyFans to maintain as a business, OnlyFans has officially announced that they are going to be banning sexually explicit content from its platform. To which they actually went and made a statement, which I'm going to be reading here on my article here, on this article on Variety, as it states. The UK-based company said that it is making changes to comply with the request of their banking partners and payout providers. Effective October 1st of this year, OnlyFans will prohibit the posting of any content creating sexually explicit conduct. In order to ensure the long-term sustainability of the platforms and to continue to host an inclusive community of creators and fans, we must evolve our content guidelines. They even went on by stating right over here, we will be sharing more details in the coming days, and we will actively support and guide our creators through this change in content guidelines. OnlyFans remains committed to the highest level of safety and content moderation of any social platforms. All creators are verified prior to being able to upload any content to OnlyFans, and all uploaded content is checked by automated systems and human moderators. And that's pretty much the big thing that is going on with OnlyFans. But I know some of you might be wondering by now, what do they mean by banning pornography? What do they mean that they're no longer going to, what do they mean that they are no longer going to show sexually explicit content? Because let's be honest, that is actually a very, very broad term. Well, in this case here, they actually mean something that is a little bit different. It's not directly what you may think. What they are going to ban is not necessarily all porn. Like, technically, the adult models that are on OnlyFans, they are allowed to go and post nude photos, but what they are not allowed to do anymore is show any form of content that shows some sexual activity, rather it be masturbation or actual penetration and stuff like that. Those are the things that they are not allowed to go and show. Rather it be like a couple actually getting it on in front of the camera, or rather it be a girl using a dildo, or a guy just jacking it off, or like whatever non-binary person that they would do with what they have. They would not be allowed to go and post that on OnlyFans, because that's gonna go and ban it. And so far, that is the big story. And apparently, OnlyFans, what excuse that they are bringing so far, what they are trying to explain in this situation, the reason why they're doing so is because of trying to please the people who are paying them. And apparently, there's a lot of major banks and major corporations like credit card companies that are pretty much funding OnlyFans to go and maintain as a major business. And keep in mind, when it comes to OnlyFans, this is not a small platform. Like, they are prominently big. And even this article actually does mention some recognizable celebrities that also do have a legitimate OnlyFans page, such as Cardi B, Jordan Woods, Bella Thorne, Tyga, Amber Rose, Black China, Ruby Rose, Tana Mongo, I think, is that how you say their name correctly? And Trey Songz. So, and not to mention, by the way, that they also have like tons of different creators. Apparently, over 114,000 people are actually registered as creators to OnlyFans so far. So it is a big prominent platform, and they are mentioning so far that they want to go and please those major companies like the banks and the credit card creators and stuff like that, in order to comply with, like, in order to keep getting funding from them. So they decided to go and cut off the pornography. And I do understand, I understand that there is that argument regarding distancing yourself from the porn industry, because it is true that, let's be honest, the porn industry is still incredibly shady. Like, there is still that dark section where, in terms of the fetishes, they can go a little too far, to the point where it can be criminal or just beyond messed up, where maybe you would see a brother and sister getting it on with each other, or worst case scenario, that minors could also be involved with this. So I understand about the argument of distancing themselves from the porn industry, especially with that kind of shady reputation. But still, though, what they pulled off here, they might as well go and shut off the website entirely. They might as well just go and pull the plug and say OnlyFans is over, because right now, the reason why this is getting so much backlash is because of the amount of jobs that are going to be lost. You have no idea how there are so many people out there who really do rely on OnlyFans, and by making that sexually explicit content in order to survive. Like, for a lot of them, that's how they make their living. That's how they do their jobs. That's how they pay the bills. That's how they get their groceries and stuff like that, by earning money by doing these X-rated things on OnlyFans. And now that that's going to be taken away from them, there are going to be tons of accounts that are going to be taken down. There are going to be tons of accounts that are going to be lost, and so many people will no longer go and do what they would usually do on OnlyFans. Now, I know that there is going to be that argument as well, that not all adult content creators are going to be losing their platform on OnlyFans, and there are going to be a selected few, or there are going to be some that will stay on board, and they will provide some tasteful nudes and stuff like that. But there is also another issue with it because of the fact that now that they are going to be extremely limited, I can guarantee you that there is going to be a lot of creators, not just the ones that are making adult content, but so many people on OnlyFans, they are going to see a significant nosedive in terms of their profits because of how there are going to be so many people who will lose interest of OnlyFans, or because their favorite content creators are either no longer there in general and are no longer producing content there, or because their favorite content creators on OnlyFans, they're no longer allowed to do the kind of content that they're really into, and that they're really limiting themselves, and that, well, they can't really get that same spark like they used to, so they would have to go and sign out, save their money, and just go elsewhere with the cash that they do have and give it to maybe some other content creator in another platform that could satisfy their needs. And that is the big thing why this is getting backlash, is because of how this is going to really cost so many people's jobs and is going to take away so much revenue from people. And all this because of satisfying some old people with like billions of dollars at hand. And that honestly does bring up another topic. It does bring up another major problem, and that is regarding the viewpoint of sex workers, because that is another way that you can describe these people on OnlyFans. It's the fact that a lot of, like, they would actually be considered sex workers. In fact, some of them actually do work as sex workers, where they would go around people's houses, or they would have people invite them to their place, and, well, for a fee, well, they can satisfy their needs, per se. But there is still that massive stigma that people look down upon sex workers, that they're horrible people, that they can, that they produce terrible sins, they're terrible, they're infested with disease and stuff like that. There is still that negative outlook on sex workers in general. Now, I just want to go and state this right now. I know that there's a lot of you, and there's a lot of people out there that when it comes to the subject of sex, like, they're not really comfortable to go and talk about it, or they're not really that interested. And I know there are some asexual people that really, they just don't care about sex in general. And for that, like, that's completely cool, and that's completely fine. But the one thing that I do have a problem with, and one thing that is actually a bad thing to do, are those people who look down upon sex. The kind of people that really go out of their way to say that sex is a crime, and that they shame people for even thinking about sex or even working on sex. Like, you have probably seen some people on social media that they would say that, oh, sex workers are terrible, and like, they're laughing at sex workers losing their jobs on OnlyFans. It's like, sex workers should go and get a real job. And for those people, I would say that there are only two kinds that would go and try to say something like that, or has that really negative outlook on sex to the point that they want to shame others regarding the subject and treat it like it's a crime. Number one are the ultra Christians, and technically not necessarily just Christians, but also like people who are just way into their religion, the kind that just take it a little too seriously. The ones that I talk about, the ones that like, they're really into their religion. It's like, that's pretty much their entire personality. And like, the reason why I say Christians is because they are especially guilty of this, where a lot of these religions, they do have strict rules when it comes to sex, and that it is mostly looked down upon. In fact, in the Christian religion, like, sex and adultery in general is considered a sin. It's not only considered one of the 7 deadly sins with lust, but even one of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not commit adultery. So there is that major factor, and you got those people that just take it way too seriously to the point of trying to outlaw sex. And the problem with those people in general is that again, they're way too much into their religion, down to the point where they're just so out of touch with reality. They're so out of touch where they think like the Bible or whatever religious scripture is like the law of the land, and they want to try to force everyone to try to go and follow it, and have no comprehension of how the real world works, because their world is pretty much that religious scripture. So yeah, it's those people, they kind of have a bit of that mental problem where they're just a little too into their religion, and Christians are especially guilty of that. And that's why they do have that negative outlook of sex, because they're just so out of touch with reality. They don't realize that we are in a progressive age where, like, yeah, sex is a lot more understandable and sex workers can be considered a real job. But then there is also the second category of people who shame sex workers and who treat sex like it is a lot more of a crime. And those people, I would like to know, actually, you know what? Let's actually play a little game. Chat wall, I would like to ask you, do you know the second category? Do you know what is the second category of people who shame sex workers and treat it like it's a crime? Come on. Come on, tell me. Like, at least, let's play a little guessing game. I want to know. Let's see. One is saying Puritans. Nope, that's not it. Come on. Any other guesses? Come on. Let's see. Fortnite gamers. Okay, Fortnite gamer. No, it's not Fortnite gamers. Any other guesses? Come on. I would like to know. Republicans? No. You're not. No, I don't think people are. No, people. I don't. None of you are getting it right. Karens? No. Sexual harassers? No, that's not. Oh, definitely not sexual harassers. Well, I guess kind of, yeah, in a way. Nope. Actually, I'll give you the real answer. The second group of people, they're called liars. Yeah, they will go and put on a show saying that sex is a crime, sex is evil. But usually when it comes to the case, especially with some of these people that you have listed, like Karens, Republicans, Puritans, especially like gamers as well, they are absolute liars. Like they will talk about how they are above sex workers, that they are above things like pornography or sex and stuff like that. But those people are absolutely guilty of consuming pornography and maybe even paying for any form of sexual service, rather it be something online or maybe even with an actual sex worker. Like, these people are absolutely guilty of trying to put on a show, yet they themselves are just addicted to porn. And the greatest example that I can think of is none other than Senator Ted Cruz. Like, we all know for a fact that Ted Cruz is nothing but a liar, down to the point where even his own name is an absolute lie. I mean, his real name is actually Reginald, for God's sakes. But we all probably have heard of the stories of how Ted Cruz is a Christian. But also down to the point that he tries to antagonize like any form of sexually explicit content, or even antagonizing sex, down to the point where he infamously tried to ban dildos in Texas. And yeah, you can look at someone tried to correct me. It's Raphael, not Reginald. Well, it's definitely not Ted, I'm just saying. But either way, there is that there is that aspect where it is true that he once tried to ban dildos, but there were one or maybe even a few instances where he was actually caught on social media actually loving some porn himself, that he was actually a fan, where there was one instance, in fact, on Twitter, where he was actually caught liking this one little clip that came directly from a porno. So you know that many of these conservatives and many of these many of these Puritans and stuff like that, they all act like they're above it. But if they're the thing is that if they're not really uber religious, if they don't have a mentality where they're not they're like completely out of touch with reality, then they're just liars. It's like, yeah, sure, pal. Yeah, sure, sex work. Oh yeah, you're above sex workers. Yeah, sure, pal. Yeah, sure. Yeah. By the way, here's your receipt for your night with LaQuisha or Diamond and stuff like that. I'm just saying. But yeah, that's the but that's the big thing here, is that unfortunately there is still that negative outlook on sex workers and pornography that is still highly prominent, down to the point where if you want to do some kind of business that does relate to pornography, well, yeah, you really have to be all or nothing. You can't do a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B at the same time. And that's unfortunately the case with what we are seeing with OnlyFans, and that's why the website is getting very significant amount of backlash, because the reason why OnlyFans is so well known and he even has a prominent even has a prominent platform in the first place is because of the fact that it really did earn millions upon millions, maybe even billions of dollars, all based on porn, because it has a massive group of people, like it has a massive amount of creators that are entirely dedicated to that content that they're trying to ban it. And now they're pretty much taking that away, and now they're pretty much left without a job. And honestly, it's really hard to really like figure out a solution for those sex workers who have basically lost their jobs on OnlyFans, and there's not really much else where they could go, where they could not only do the things they do, but do the things that they do safely. Like some people might say, considering that OnlyFans is a Patreon alternative, then they could just go to Patreon, right? No, absolutely not. As much as I personally love Patreon and that it does play a big factor in my revenue every year, the problem with Patreon is that they are extremely strict when it comes to adult-oriented content. Like, down to the point where, like, they could be infamous in terms of, like, screwing over adult content creators even outside of the Patreon platform. So no, that is not a place where I can go and recommend. So yeah, this is like, I completely understand the backlash that is currently going on with OnlyFans, and honestly, either one of two things could actually happen the way that I do see it. Number one is that they might backtrack on their plan and they'll just say, never mind, like the backlash has gone way too harsh, and they decided to just keep things as is. Or there is the second option, and the way that I see it, OnlyFans right now, if they are committed to banning pornography, they're going to go in the way of Tumblr. Like, I can imagine OnlyFans is just going to end up like the next Tumblr, and we're just going to, this will probably be the last time that the whole internet would even mention about OnlyFans, because you guys probably do remember Tumblr, right? Now, I am not saying that Tumblr is dead, that Tumblr is gone and nobody uses Tumblr anymore. I'm sure there are probably a significant few that actually does use it. But you probably remember a few years ago when Tumblr actually made a similar decision where they decided to go and ban any form of pornographic content onto their website. And ever since then, nobody really talks about Tumblr ever again. Or I don't know if there are people that even does use Tumblr, because like there was a time when Tumblr used to be one of the big social media platforms, like right up there with Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. But nowadays it pretty much like kind of faded out into obscurity. And I mean, yeah, it might still be online, but because of the fact that they took away pornography and they made it very strict on that website, well, it's not really that much of a reliable source or a reliable place to use as a legitimate social media. So that's honestly the direction that I could see OnlyFans going, that maybe it won't shut down entirely, but it definitely will not be as famous as it used to. And yeah, maybe it won't, like, maybe in the future it might not shut down, but I can imagine in the long run, there's going to be a timer right now where it might soon expire because the people that made that platform are no longer going to be there in the first place. So it really is unfortunate to see that way. And honestly, I just feel like no matter how much money they would go and get from these major investors and these banks and these credit card companies, like I think honestly, this is going to be something that will do more harm than it will do good. Not just on OnlyFans, but especially for the content creators that are on OnlyFans. And honestly, I do wish these people the best of luck to find like a new source of revenue that they could earn. And I could completely understand that being a sex worker is very much tough. And I personally do understand in terms of working on something that the general public would view as something that's not considered a real job per se. I mean, like technically my job consists of talking about cartoons. Like like you could pretty much argue that, or I could even say that technically my job is less legitimate as a real job than a sex worker. And yet they're the ones who, well, no pun intended, but they get screwed over the most. And that's exactly what happened here. Like OnlyFans basically used these sex workers in order to build a very prominent platform and then drop them as if they're pretty much like vermin, essentially. And it's honestly disgusting the way that they would go and treat them. Seriously. I mean, these are sex workers. These are people who actually do work hard on what they do. Yeah, it's coming from a shady industry, sure, but then again, they're just doing what they can in order to make ends meet. And I mean, can you really blame them? Honestly, it's just very unfortunate to see all this happen. All right, so with all that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the scenario with OnlyFans? And don't be shy, people. Don't, like, this is a scenario, like, let's all be honest. Let's all open up about this whole situation. Feel free to express how you go and feel, regardless of what your opinion may be. And especially, if you are someone who does have an OnlyFans account, how do you feel and how do you think you're going to go and move forward? Because I'll be honest. Yes, I am guilty of having an OnlyFans account as well. And yes, some of the things that I do some of the things I am subscribed are for adult-related content. But I don't know how I'm going to move forward, honestly, with my subscriptions on them right now, especially when they are going to be limited. I mean, yeah, like it might seem like shallow and bad of me if I would unsubscribe to some of them right now, especially with what's been going on. But still, though, like if they're no longer going to do that same kind of content as they used to, then I'll see if I can find other means of supporting them without OnlyFans. Let's see now. What do we got here? Do we have any comments, actually? Really? Is this... Someone's asking, is this a grand finale? Well, yes, this is. Wow, nobody has any comments? Is there... Nobody? Let's see. Yeah. Some people are confused. It's like, is this a grand finale? Is this a... Okay, let's see. Matt, thank you. Thank you for actually defending sex workers as individuals trying to make a living. You, Georgie Marie, Eleanor, Neil, Brooke, McKenna, and Danielle Halen are the only ones I know who publicly defend sex workers and look at them as people. I mean, yeah, like, I know the things I do is just kids-related stuff, but I know that, like, what I do is no different than what sex workers do, and they're doing all that they can, like, to run their own business and to go and make ends meet. So, honestly, I perfectly relate to sex workers, and yeah, I definitely do support sex workers as well. And some of them I do support with money at the same time. I mean, like, yeah, I have my needs. I mean, I have my things that I am interested in. I mean, you know, and I know that, like, well, I'm definitely transparent on that. I've already mentioned that I am a big boob lover. So, I mean, okay, anyways, in all seriousness, though, this is really upsetting. While I don't use OnlyFans, it really is a shame and absolutely disgusting how they would treat some of these people. I just hope these people can find some money and find a job, find like some actual work in the long run. Yeah, no, I hope so too. And like nowadays, it's just gonna be tough. And man, it's hard to know like where else to go. And I mean, yeah, there are probably some major porno websites that can offer like that kind of special service, but then again, there could be some that like can be very shady as well. So like I'm not necessarily in that industry myself, of course, but honestly, I don't know. Like I just hope they can find a solution other than OnlyFans that they could move to. It makes me sad that adult content creators keep getting screwed over by ultra Christians and Puritans. I wish the best for the sex workers. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and people are pretty much praying. I guess there's not a lot of comments that people would want to say, oh, okay, we do have a full comment. I feel bad for those content creators since they are doing they're doing it not only for money, but to pay the bills and get groceries too. I know many view sex workers as disgusting creeps, but there are some that do have good stories and backgrounds of why they are doing this, so I can't blame them. I hope they find good jobs by the time it goes in effect in October, so good luck to them and hope they don't get screwed over. Yeah, and that's probably the only thing that I would say is a positive, is that at the very least, they these sex workers, they do have time before it would be too late. They got over a month that they could try to go and find an alternative so that they could still find some good revenue and don't necessarily have to rely on OnlyFans and their strict rules. So hopefully, for now, let's just go and hope for the best. And yes, I'll just say this right now. Go and support sex workers. Actually, like, I know some of you may not necessarily be interested in sex and stuff like that, but they definitely would need help. And I mean, if you are someone who is not necessarily shy when it comes to sex, then honestly, find someone, like, whether it be an artist or a cosplayer or someone like that, or even a porn star or whatever. Like, do what you can in order to go and, like, you know, give off a few bucks to go and, you know, show your support, because more than ever, they definitely do need your help. And with that said, that should be it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And let me just say thank you all so much for joining me on this one. And let's go and have some fun on the next episode, whatever that may be, and whatever crazy stories that might come out over there. But with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.